All right, good afternoon, all of you. So we begin with chapter number 12 on employment and skilling. So survey says that in labor market activity, the structural shift is driven by digitalization, green transition and gig platform. ये नए नए jobs निकल के आ रहे हैं digitalization से, green transition से. And policy focus is now moving away from job quantity to job quality. That productivity becomes more, inclusiveness becomes more, and we see that 98 crore people will be in the working age population will be in the next decade. Also, India will have a demographic dividend peaking around 2030. Sorry, when 65% of the workers will be in the working age group. Other than that, there's another thing that our fertility is lowering down, so we will gradually age, but till 2042 we will have the demographic dividend. That is, the percentage of people in working age will be higher than percentage of people in the dependent population. So we have a lot of growth potential with large population and workforce. We will have to make them healthier, we will have to make them more skilled. Survey also says that there is a challenge of rising non-communicable disease, and we need preventive health care and healthy lifestyles to make sure that our working age population is healthy and efficient. All right. Now, of course, we need to focus on biomedical research, lifelong learning. We also need to have labor market to be deregulated and addressing any skill mismatch, because remember, the skills required will be changing very fastly in the modern world. We also need to make sure that employability and productivity of workforce rises. So the focus has to be on education and healthcare. Then in recent trends, the survey says that overall with tax overhaul, deregulation, growth and job creation is being promoted. So the evidence from periodic labor force survey of India and annual survey of industries and QBUs shows that labor indicators are gradually improving in India. There are 56 crore people who are employed in the labor market in India. So 56 crore people who are employed, and there are 8.7 lakh jobs which have been added. Now, there are seasonal variations, but gradually we see labor market doing better in India. In fact, if you look at labor force participation rate, so labor force participation rate has been steadily in the zone of 55%, 56%, which means 56% people in India are either working or reporting for work, and unemployment rate has been in the zone of 5.4 to 5.2%, which means that overall, if we see, we have more and more people joining the labor force, but unemployment rate has remained steady, which means more and more people are getting jobs. But as we said in the beginning, quantity of jobs is okay, it's the quality of jobs which is becoming a question mark. Survey also says that around if you look at quarter 1 fiscal year 26 and so on, we see that majority of the people are seen in agriculture, followed by services and then industry, which is something we need to get a little worried about. They also give us an example. See, the own account workers are dominant, self-employed जिन्हें बोलते हैं, they are pretty dominant in our labor force, and the helper in sorry, helper in household enterprises are also becoming dominant. So this is something we need to again take care of, that the dominance is generally of own account workers, and these own account workers are not necessarily all of them very efficient. Many own account workers are also workers like vendors, vegetable vendors, rickshaw pullers. So we need to upgrade our industrial employment character. Also in rural areas, we see agriculture is dominant. 57% people in agriculture, 62.8% are reporting self-employed. Even though female participation is high, in urban areas 62% people are reporting in services, which shows that again industry is lacking in India. Industrial structure is not that strong, and whatever industries are there are focusing more on capital intensity. Also, the salaried wage share is largest in rural regular wage and salaried wage share, but again that's a rare job in India. Most of the jobs in India are generally speaking casual in nature. So we see agriculture is around 42%, self-employment 56%, and casual labor in 19%. And agriculture is very critical for rural employment. But again, income stability is not there, productivity is low in agriculture, so possibility of getting good quality jobs in agriculture is also reduced. Then the periodic labor force survey data says that women are concentrated in self-employment and household enterprises in rural areas. So rural regular wage employment for women is very low, 10.8%. Own account worker employees is high and helpers is high. So we see that women are preferring flexible work schedule so that they can manage family as well as work. So when we look at the time usage survey, that is how people allocate their work, we see that females have been participating more, but they are still focusing more on household chores in their work. So female labor force participation has increased to 25% from 21.8%. But if you see, even 25% is very low when it comes to things. And male participation is 75%, which is also increased from 70.9%. Today, PLFS says, in April, PLFS has said that the female labor force participation in India is 33%, while male labor force participation is around 72%. But this 33% female labor force participation includes 16% those females who are working without money for family enterprises. So that is again where the female labor, and you know, another worrying factor about female labor force participation is that female in the urban areas are only 24% reporting for work. So as I told you, the care burden is high on female, time spent for care is much higher on female, and that is why we see that even though females are doing less of paid activity, but total work done by female is much higher. The unpaid plus paid activity by female is much higher compared to that done by male, and that is something we should be worried about. Then of course there is a care economy whole thing. अब ये बहुत important है तुम्हारे मेंस के लिए, जहां पर ये बात है that what is the potential of a care economy. तो आप देखिए ये स्लाइड इंपॉर्टेंट है, ध्यान से, that expanding care services can boost female labor force participation. It will help us in monetizing the non-monetized places. You know, so that is one factor, that today the females are working without money, but if we monetize the care economy, we will be able to create employment for females. For example, an extra worker in the Anganwadi system or an extra worker in healthcare system. Similarly, in the key interventions needed are flexible work policies so that they can get regular intervals of work, childcare facilities and creches, and then there should be skill development among females with the demand as industry is making. If we don't give skills based on industrial demand, we will not have well developed female workforce. Also, female education and female workforce interaction should be integration should be increased. At regulatory level, the regulations to restrict females from working in hazardous industries, which is in 17 states, or restrictions on women to work in night shifts in factories or commercial establishments, they have been gradually removed. So thankfully, if we can remove it in all the states, that will give us a better result. तो अगर आपसे पूछे how to enhance, ये factor है, और फिर सर्वे ने पूरा एक बॉक्स बनाया, जैसे enhancing female LFPR. So if we want, we need to increase female labor force participation rate to 55% by 2050. Only then GDP growth will be high. If you look at India, as I told you, we have only 33% labor force participation rate of female. If you look at China, they have it at 68%. You look at USA, they have it at 83%. So India will have to grow and reach at least 55-60%. मेरे हिसाब से 55% भी बहुत ही underwhelming hai, but we will need to develop that for increasing female labor force participation rate. All right. Another thing is that the female headed institutions should be increased. The major constraints are mobility barriers. Females can't move from one, lack of housing near the factory, inflexible work, you have to work longer hours and all, and the care burden. So ye hai restrictions on female labor force participation. Also, the women are very underrepresented in science, technology, engineering and maths, and due to that advanced jobs are missing for them, and high productivity sectors like services etc. are also having females missing. Then as we said, urban mobility constraint, 31% site commuting as barrier, 13% childcare and 19% domestic duties. Now that gives us the solution. If we can create safer and affordable transportation, childcare facilities, protection at work and in the public space, automatically the female labor force participation will become higher. Now examples are given like women police presence, Kochi women police control room vans, Hyderabad She state teams, an NCRTC program training women drivers, affordable housing like Sakhi Niwas of MOWCD or Thoshi hostels in Tamil Nadu, or women-centric industrial clusters to improve job access. तो ये examples ले सकते हो आप of some things that have been done by the state governments in India to promote female labor force participation. As I told you, expand Anganwadi network, community creches and employer-linked चाइल्ड केयर, अगर हम ये बढ़ाते हैं अपने आप धीरे धीरे फीमेल लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन बढ़ेगा. एंड फॉर्मलाइज केयर वर्क टू इंक्लूड मोर फीमेल्स इन द workforce. Also align skilling with sectors like manufacturing, renewables, so that more and more females will get skill development, and even if they leave work for childbirth or for care purpose, they can rejoin the workforce. Also promote hybrid work, work from home, work in the office, maternity benefits, equal pay. So all that will make sure that females participation becomes higher. Then promoted shared caregiving, like multiple people putting their children at one place, and or their old age people. Gender sensitization, so that we are careful that females are not discriminated just because they are females. Giving males also maternity leave, so that it's, or paternity leave, so that it is balanced in the picture. And then access to credit and procurement for females, so that they can do their self-employment business. So all that, and then including them in future skills. So all that will increase female labor force participation, which I told you is a must for any country to develop. Now then, survey talks about unorganized sector. So the Code on Social Security has defined unorganized workers as self-employed, home-based wage workers, and workers in unorganized sector not covered by Industrial Disputes Act. और इसमें है कि आप आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए, तो आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए सरकार ने बनाया ई-श्रम पोर्टल. More than 31 crore workers are registered. In fact, now more than 32 crore workers are registered, and 54% are women. They are mainly covering construction workers, migrant workers, gig workers, etc. इन वर्कर्स को यूएएन दिया जाता है, यूनिवर्सल अकाउंट नंबर. तो यूनिवर्सल अकाउंट नंबर से क्या होता है दैट इवन इफ द वर्कर शिफ्ट्स अक्रॉस जॉब्स, they can carry forward the benefits that they have had. Even if they change their city, the government will be able to identify and give them the benefits that they were getting in the previous city. So that way the workers is able to remain mobile without having a fear that if they move from one job to another or one city to another, they will lose their benefit. Also, the portal has been linked with 18 schemes like One Nation, One Card, Ration Card, National Social Assistance Program, etc. And data is shared with the state governments also. So better provisioning of services is given for the workers. Of course, apart from that, e-Shram portal also helps in making sure workers are connected to jobs, apprenticeships are available, skill programs they learn about. So in that case, not only recognizes them, but also tells them about the new opportunities which are available for them. Now, National Career Services is an employment platform. It is a one-stop platform which is linking job seekers and employers as well as training providers. It is a registration, job matching, interview support. So in that case, what happens is that it is linked with Ministry of External Affairs also, so even global job opportunities are available. And Skill India Digital Hub, SIDH, के साथ वो integrated है. So that means that skilling can be given as a pre-employment training. किसी को employment कैसे करें, skilling कैसे मिले. So Skill India Digital Hub is again becoming an ecosystem there. And to formalize, then the workers are connected to EPFO, ESIC, so that they get under protection of Provident Fund, State Insurance Corporation, e-Shram, Udyam, and that way more and more workers are getting recognized, and we are able to understand not only the amount of people who are employed, but also the nature of employment, how many people are in the unorganized sector, how many are in the organized sector, where are the vacancies, where are the workers, and that way the matching can be done. Then in organized manufacturing, we see that the job creation has been rising very regularly, number of persons engaged, number of workers. So we see that it is increasing almost on a regular basis. The small dip is COVID area. So employment grew by 6% in the organized sector year on year, and over 10 lakh jobs got added. And 57 lakh jobs have been added between 15 to 24 in the organized sector. 78 lakh jobs have been added in the unorganized sector. So 1 crore 35 lakh jobs have been added in the last 10 years in India, but that's too less because the number of job seekers is around 1.8 crore. So 45 lakh people remain unemployed in spite of very large amount of job creation. Now we see that wages have not increased, accordingly. If you see, the employment per person engaged has remained flat, has increased very slowly, and the net value added per person engaged has also increased by around 50% in the last 5 years. So emoluments per worker has increased, job qualities have become better, but real wage of the worker has not improved. Survey ने बताते नहीं है, but आपको पता होना चाहिए that productivity rise कर रही है, employment rise कर रहा है, but wage availability उतनी rise नहीं कर रही है. Real terms में rather wages have remained stagnant in India, which is a challenge. Also, 22% of the large factories are that is more than 100 workers, are employing 79% people, and 77% of small factories are employing 21% of workers. So we see that effectively it is most workers employed in the large factories, which shows that if India can increase the size of its factories, India can have more laborers employment and more employment generated. Also in large factories, the wages are high, net value added per worker is high, productivity is high, employment growth therefore is very high. We see that most of the top states account for 60% of employment: Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, and the states which are, you see Tamil Nadu 15%, Gujarat 13%, Maharashtra 13%, and so on. And if you go down the ladder, then many states don't have industrial employment. And similarly, we see same states like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, etc. are high productivity states, and the 8 major industry groups, that is, food products, textiles, basic metals, motor vehicles, wearing apparel, machinery and equipment, they comprise 60% of the workers' share. In the unincorporated non-agricultural sector, we see there are 7.9 crore establishments. तो ये लोग क्या है? Small enterprises, micro enterprises. कोई साइकिल पंप बना रहे हैं, कोई छोटा आटे की चक्की चला रहे हैं. तो ये non-agriculture है, but unincorporated है, unregistered. They are not companies, non-agriculture. अब ऐसे 7.9 crore establishment ने 12.9 crore. मतलब आप सोचिए, ratio of worker is not even 1:2. And most of them are in the rural areas that we see. And most of it is gradually shifting towards self-employment. The share of working owners increased from 58 to 60%, which is not good news. It shows lack of good quality jobs. So many people prefer doing small jobs for themselves than looking for larger jobs. Rising entrepreneurship नहीं है ये, own account work नहीं है, ये survey बोलते हैं. ये actually एक signal है that we are not doing well with respect to job creation for factory and organized sector. We need to do that. And you see the larger proportion of women again shows that. Internet usage is rising among workers, and that shows that gradually the workers are integrating with the digital economy. Then of course we are boosting manufacturing workforce participation. That is again a lie. Only 11.4% are in manufacturing. It used to be 14% in 2017. So the numbers are actually declining. Organized sector is 1.9 crore, unorganized 3.3 crore. We need to focus better on labor intensive manufacturing, then only manufacturing labor will increase. Right now India is struggling there. Then for boosting workforce productivity, we need to focus on physical well-being, mental well-being, training of the worker, productivity raising of the workers, skilling of the workers and financial well-being of the workers. अगर हम ये करेंगे तो workers की workforce productivity बढ़ जाएगी. We see that with 800 women studied that when productivity increased, their informal borrowing decreased, for essential consumption foregoing decreased, and their loss of work decreased. तो जैसे women को आप train करते हैं, skill करते हैं, financially secure करते हैं, उनके unnecessary borrowings, foregoing necessary consumption, ये खत्म हो जाता है, और उसके वजह से the sexual health, reproductive health, awareness system, that becomes better. So overall we see that if we focus on good quality provisioning of services to people like well-being of mental, financial, physical, and साथ में focusing on reduction of anxiety, financial well-being, we get positive results. Now if we look at catalyzing job growth, there have been some labor reforms which I have taught you already in the class. So 4 codes for labor, and they are consolidating 29 laws into one code, and that is helping in recognizing the gig workers, portable social security for migrant workers, equal benefits for contract workers, equal wage for equal work. There's a floor wage set by the central government, and also restrictions on unnecessary firing. So 32 states and UTs have already published the draft rules under labor codes, so we can expect an all India application of these labor codes. In fact, women workforce participation बढ़ाने के लिए night shift work has been allowed with some safeguards, and overtime cap has been increased to 144 hours. पहले ये 64 hours था, तो इसको बढ़ा दिया गया है. So overall, there are possibilities that more and more women will be included with the new labor codes. Now, what is the economics of labor code? Economics ये है that it's a concurrent subject. तो सेंट्रल और स्टेट लॉ ओवरलैप करते हैं, उससे कंप्लायंस बर्डन आता है, मल्टीपल अथॉरिटीज आते हैं. तो जब रिफॉर्म कर दिया गया तो वो सिंप्लीफाई कर देता है, फ्लेक्सिबल कर देता है, एंड द एफिशिएंसी इज देयर टू सपोर्ट फर्म ग्रोथ एंड employment. So in that case, the rigid labor laws go away. We have flexible regimes, and we can have more trust that way we can have increased labor force participation, especially female labor force participation. And also it will help in formalizing the workers, as employers will be encouraged to have formal workers rather than ignoring them and deliberately keeping them in the informal sector. The MSME will benefit by allowing contractual labor, and that is the survey says that SBI study shows that hopefully the formalization can now rise to 75%. Employment generation can rise. There can be medium term gains in the organized sector employment with around 77 lakh jobs that will be created. Unemployment rate can fall. These are the benefits of labor codes. तो इसको आप याद रख लेंगे, अपने पास एक कॉपी बना लेंगे. आपसे पूछा जाए अगर व्हाट आर द एक्सपेक्टेड बेनिफिट्स ऑफ लेबर कोड, वो यहाँ से शुरू हो गई बात. यहाँ से economics of labor codes, flexibility versus regulation, flexible regimes, impact on female labor force participation, formalization, MSME benefit, impact on employment, structural shift, that more and more people will now go towards formal workforce than informal. Social security will be expanded even for gig workers. So the idea will be to make sure that everybody has an identification number, and then the workers will not be left alone for their own doings. Or ease of doing business will improve. So with industrial tribunal, there will be faster dispute resolution, and floor wage standardization will mean that workers' exploitation will not happen. So workers will get better wage, GDP will grow better, employment will grow better, training will grow better, and that ways overall we will have better quality job in India. They also say that the gig economy and informal workforce is throwing its own challenges. So the labor market dynamics are changing. More than 2.3 crore workers in India are now reporting themselves as gig workers. So now they say that gradually let's shift from formal to a hybrid. Hybrid is contractual plus formal. Economic reforms, digitalization, and so on are changing the employer-worker relationship with directness, nature of work, payment systems, and work flexibility. So it is important that we recognize these changes and then bring them up with the respect of work relationship. So in that case, it is important that we tell people that if the workers are skilled, then the workers will be able to earn better. This table shows that the workers will be able to earn better, and workers will get time for themselves also to relax. In a gig economy, the ILO defines gig work is typically performed by self-employed or independent contractors who obtain clients and projects through online platforms or applications. The key feature is flexibility in time, payment per task, suited for balancing caregiving, family work, etc. And we see 77 lakh to 1 crore 20 lakh gig workers by fiscal year 25, expected to be 2 crore plus by 2030. 2% of the workforce is now gig work, and 6.7% of workforce they will be by 2029-30. They are already contributing 2.35 lakh crore to GDP, which is projected. So platform work is the main thing there. Advantages, of course, are converts informal work into platform work, enhances labor market flexibility, supports new age sectors like delivery, ride sharing, freelancing, even teaching and all have gig workers now. Income insecurity is there, job insecurity is there, financially they have no social security like pension funds, etc. Algorithmically they are controlled, and so that is why they can be blocked any day. Skill and technology is not improving for them on a daily basis. Plus, algorithmic learning, machine learning can displace artificial intelligence and machine learning can displace them any day. So the idea should be to make sure they are formally recognized and they are trained and skilled so that they can also evolve with the changes in the workplace. Also, the gig workers are freelancers, contractors, etc. Now there is income insecurity. So for Code on Social Security makes sure that gig workers are formally recognized and they're given all protection that a normal worker will get. Then they give us some examples of international examples which you can quote in your exam as to what other countries have done. And in gig work, we see 27.5% of the gig workers by 2030 will be highly skilled, while 33.8% will be lowly skilled. And low skilled gig workers are more vulnerable, while high skilled gig workers have relatively better chances. So, free agents and people who are freelancers, people who are trained actors, cinematographers, they are still better off. But people in gig work like Zomato carrier or Swiggy carrier are definitely in a difficult situation. So the core challenges will be the upward mobility is restricted, assets and all are missing, credit constraints are there, and platform dominates them. So we need to have upskilling and mobility. We need to make sure there is proper method that people can co-invest, have vehicles, have land, so that they can also rely on some better standard of living, and income security should be there. Some minimum wage per task should be fixed so that they are not exploited. So we need to make sure that the regulating platforms is there, that platforms are regulated, algorithms should not be allowed to exploit, transparency should be there in data access, and competition rules should be applicable. In skill sector, we see that skilling lies at the intersection of education, labor markets, and industry. So it requires coordination across ministries, government, employers, and institutions. So this is important that India can get demographic dividend. Now, the vocational technical training in India has increased from 8% to 34% in the last 6 years. But the problem is only 5% of the youth have formal training and only 21% have informal training. So almost 75% have no training at all in the vocational field. So we have to improve that. The key challenges are formal skilling have very low penetration. So in that case, workers are not industry ready. Also, multiple ministries and schemes have fragmentation, and with industry demand, there is weak alignment. So the training is something else, industry demands something else. Now, governance reforms are needed. So what is the idea? Horizontal coordination should be developed among ministries. Vertical coordination should be developed across center, states, and local levels, and interministerial platforms for policy coherence. So Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurs serves as the nodal body. Now that is what India is developing. और हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? Skill India Digital Hub को use कर रहे हैं as a platform. Then MSDE as another platform to integrate skill education, employment, entrepreneurship. So digital skilling will be given. Portable verified credentials, you will be allowed to have it on National Credit Portal and platform. Then multilingual access will be given so that in multiple language you can understand the training, and there will be unified access for central and state schemes. And administratively, this registration, training, etc. certification will be streamlined. एक place पे सब कुछ हो जाएगा, and duplication and across schemes can be reduced. So the basic idea is डेटा ड्रिवन मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ आउटकम्स. ये नहीं कि 4 लाख लोगों को ट्रेन किया, ये कि उसमें से फिर कितने लोगों को नौकरी दिला पाए, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, और कितने लोगों की नौकरी सस्टेनेबल रही. साथ में जो कोर्स का कनेक्शन है वो इंडस्ट्री के रिक्वायरमेंट से कनेक्ट किया जाए ताकि लोग अपने डेटा का, अपने ट्रेनिंग खत्म करने के बाद जॉब पा सकें. देन ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज अ टॉक ऑन रीओरिएंटिंग स्किलिंग पॉलिसी फ्रॉम आउटपुट टू आउटकम्स. सी वीक्स ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ ट्रेनिंग इनटू एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड अर्निंग. तो सिस्टम जो है वो इंसेंटिवाइज करता है कितने लोगों को आपने ट्रेन किया, ये नहीं कि कितने लोगों को नौकरी दिलाए. तो आउटकम बेस्ड फंडिंग होनी चाहिए ताकि फंडिंग लिंक हो जाए टू हाउ मेनी पीपल वर एम्प्लॉयड. 6 से 12 महीने तक कम से कम काम मिला उन्हें, एंड दैट विल मेक श्योर दैट पीपल विल देन डेवलप देयर प्रोग्राम्स टू एजुकेट पीपल फॉर जॉब्स रादर देन ओनली एजुकेटिंग देम. ऑल्सो skill impact bonds have been developed, skill vouchers can be given. तो उससे क्या होगा, आपने एक पर्सन को ट्रेनिंग लेने के लिए स्किल वाउचर दिया, अब उनको बोले आप इस वाउचर से किसी से भी ट्रेनिंग ले सकते हैं, तो वो बेस्ट क्वालिटी ट्रेनर के पास जाएंगे. इससे क्या होगा, गुड क्वालिटी ट्रेनर्स विल एक्सपैंड एंड पुअर क्वालिटी ट्रेनर्स विल फेड अवे. देन employers linkages as core design is important. तो employers को integrate कीजिए with for curriculum design, apprenticeship, joint assessments. तो employer certify भी करें, curriculum भी design करें और उन्हें काम भी सिखाएं. इससे क्या होगा, पहले से ही employer और employee के बीच में interaction होता रहेगा, तो जैसे course खत्म होगा तो employer will be able to give them employment, especially in the small informal firms. एंड लोकल मार्केट अलाइनमेंट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. आप जहां ट्रेनिंग ले रहे हैं उसके आसपास के मार्केट को क्या चाहिए, उसके हिसाब से ट्रेनिंग हो, तो उस केस में जॉब्स जल्दी मिलते हैं. ऑफ कोर्स अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट प्रोफेशनल प्लेसमेंट सिस्टम होनी चाहिए, जैसे करियर काउंसलिंग, जॉब पाइपलाइंस वेरीफाइड, मोबिलिटी सपोर्ट, सो दैट पीपल don't leave a good quality job just because they can't transport themselves there, just because they can't locate themselves there. Also, accountability should be strengthened so that घोस्ट सेंटर्स, जहाँ पे बस सेंटर नाम के लिए कोई पढ़ने नहीं आता, इन्फ्लेटेड नंबर्स, इनको कंट्रोल किया जाए डिजिटल अटेंडेंस के ऑडिट ट्रेल से, थर्ड पार्टी आइडेंटिफिकेशन से. तो इससे क्या होगा, आज जो बहुत सारे पैसे सरकार खर्च कर रही है और लोग एक्चुअली ट्रेन नहीं कर रहे हैं, बस सरकार से पैसे ले रहे हैं, वो चीज़ें खत्म होनी शुरू हो जाएंगी. साथ में वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग को डिग्री के इक्विवेलेंट स्टेटस दीजिए, नहीं तो इंडिया में जो डिग्री से स्टेटस अटैच्ड है उसकी वजह से बहुत लोग वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग लेने नहीं जाते. लेकिन ये ज़रूरी है कि एम्प्लॉयर से कनेक्टेड हो, एम्प्लॉयर से ट्रेंड हो, ताकि नौकरी बने उसके बाद. यूथ के लिए स्किल स्ट्रैटेजी में सर्वे बोलते हैं दैट अर्ली वोकेशनल एजुकेशन होना चाहिए. स्कूल डेज से ही शुरू करिए, 4th स्टैंडर्ड 5th स्टैंडर्ड, स्टार्ट गिविंग अर्ली वोकेशनल education. इससे क्या होगा, the youth will be able to identify exactly in which subject or in which direction they want to go. Similarly, So adaptability to technology, lifelong skill acquisition, this will improve, and education will be aligned to labor market network. साथ में vocational education will make sure that from school to work transition is smooth. Not everybody wants to be a postgraduate. Not everybody wants to be an academician, a PhD. So somebody might want to go to shoe designing. Somebody might want to work in the field of carpentry. Somebody might want to work in the field of furniture business, and so on. And that can happen if we can employ people with skills and train them from earlier age, and that will also help in better social outcomes, because more people employed will give better quality of social welfare. The challenges are weak foundation skills जो हमारे vocational institution में है, poor industry alignment, industry job देती ही नहीं अगर training के बाद भी, and adaptability to new technology नहीं है. तो only 47% schools offer skill-based courses, and participation is even lesser at 29%. So that is why it is important that systemically we focus on school-to-work courses, vocational courses, than what we are at the moment focusing on. So that will make sure that academic courses are broadened and include flexible methods. ये कोशिश करिए कि नेशनल क्रेडिट रजिस्टर में नाम आ जाए और एंट्री एग्जिट फ्लेक्सिबल हो. आप 5 साल ट्रेनिंग लीजिए, फिर नौकरी पे जाइए, या 2 साल ट्रेनिंग लीजिए, नौकरी पे जाइए, फिर आपको लगता है आप अपग्रेड करना चाहते हैं, लौट के कॉलेज में आ जाइए, एंड दैट विल हेल्प यू इन बेटर रिटेंशन ऑफ वर्कर्स. So of course, government has now started a SWAM Plus portal in which industry-aligned digital courses have been launched, and National Apprenticeship Training Scheme 2.0 has been launched with DBT to 12 lakh people, so that apprenticeship participation rises, internship rises, people are encouraged to take on the job training, and this is expected to do good things for our education system. Also, they have given a global model thing. I have given you the slides, so you can take examples from Germany, China, USA, Australia, where they are trying to develop dual model of learning, low secondary structure. They are also trying to develop bifurcation between general and vocational, and high school career and technical education. So different ways are being used at a global level to interact more and more people with common education, the classical education, and with vocational training, so that more and more people participate. Now, what should India do? So Indian state level innovations have happened. Madhya Pradesh has developed a skill GPS app for career guidance, Rajasthan with comprehensive career education program, Maharashtra with career portal for grades 11 to 12. तो ये कोशिश हो रही है कि कनेक्ट कर पाएं एम्प्लॉयर को एम्प्लॉय से, साथ में एम्प्लॉयर को जिस तरह की ट्रेनिंग चाहिए एम्प्लॉय वैसी ही ट्रेनिंग पा सके अपने लिए. Other than that, so we have examples from Odisha, Kerala, Meghalaya, etc. And at national level, we have Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, where with school education, vocational education is being included, along with academic learning. And mandatory employment skills module, like communication and ICT, entrepreneurship, isse kya hoga, that some aptitude can be developed, and so that child while growing up will realize, this is a field I'm liking more, so okay, this is a field which I will specialize in. So people will not have to necessarily do all the subjects till graduation level and all. People can start making their choices. Then of course, CBSE has made a reform with skill development becoming mandatory. NCRT Kaushal Bodh textbooks have been introduced. Experiential learning measures have been introduced with skill labs and all. But ये बहुत कम schools में है. अभी भी भारत के अंदर जो 26 करोड़ स्कूल्स हैं, 417 करोड़ स्कूल्स हैं, उसमें से 2 लाख स्कूल्स में भी ये नहीं है. सो ऑफ कोर्स दीज आर गुड प्रोग्राम्स, बट वी विल हैव टू स्केल देम अप. ऑल्सो वी विल हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट करिकुलम इज कंटिन्यूसली रिवाइज्ड, टीचर्स आर ट्रेन्ड हाउ टू हैंडल द प्रोग्राम. ओनली देन वी विल हैव द प्रॉपर रिजल्ट. Then of course, apprenticeship is to build future-ready workforce, and the bridge between education and employment is through on-the-job learning. Also, the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme has been brought in with 43 lakh apprenticeship trained. अब फिर सोचिए, 43 lakh apprenticeship trained, 51,000 plus establishments involved, 36 states and union territories involved. But where does the challenge lie? Same stuff. The challenge lies that we are not scaling up sufficiently to involve crores of workers who are in the need of it. Then the National Apprenticeship Program 2026, 100 enterprises, 9.9 lakh apprentices. ये बहुत ही कम है, क्योंकि भारत में हर साल 80-90 लाख बच्चे अपने लिए नौकरी खोज रहे हैं, apprenticeship ढूंढ रहे हैं. So we will have to scale this up, and then this will become. But the idea is very good. The challenges are MSME are still not participating. Governance is still fragmented. We have a NAPS, we have a NATS, and NATS is under Ministry of Education, NAPS is under MSD. So all that makes things confusing. So if we can have a single place, that will work better. And if we can have regional, equity, that will work better. Of course, there is localized implementation. District skill committees are there. Aspirational districts in Northeast are there. Industrial participation is there in with case-oriented solution. Green manufacturing, logistics, etc. are giving you services. These are all there. But again, we need to make sure that apprentices are appointed more and more in Northeast, in Eastern India. New companies come up to develop apprenticeship. Also, the training program should involve on-the-job learning, and apprentice should be absorbed in the company after training wherever possible, and then it will become actually employment oriented. 3-4 साल मेहनत करनी होगी. After 3-4 years we will see that once these programs start becoming successful, more and more people will align their education with it, and that ways we will have a more vocational led, apprenticeship led, training led education programs, and that will create more quality employment in India. साथ में पहले क्या था, स्किलिंग बाहर से होती थी, सप्लाई ड्रिवन, लोग जैसा चाहते थे. अब इंडस्ट्री ड्रिवन स्किलिंग पे आ रहे हैं. तो एक है PMKVY 4.0, जिसमें ट्रेनिंग इन NSQF अलाइन जॉब रोल्स, देन कोर्सेज डिलीवर्ड विद इन इंडस्ट्रियल प्रेमाइसेस. जहां इंडस्ट्री है वहीं कोर्स होते हैं ताकि एम्प्लॉयर्स लीड कर सकें कि कैसे वर्कर्स उन्हें चाहिए. सेक्टरल फोकस है, जो सेक्टर्स ज़्यादा ग्रो करने वाले हैं, हेल्थ केयर, एडवांस्ड एग्रीकल्चर, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजीज, सो दैट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प अस मोर. एंड देन रोजगार मेलाज एंड नेशनल अप्रेंटिसशिप मेलाज. ऑल्सो देयर इज अ फ्लेक्सी MOU स्कीम जिसमें कस्टमाइज ट्रेनिंग होगी. जो ट्रेनिंग डिजाइन होगी जैसे इंडस्ट्री को चाहिए, जैसा वर्कर खुद को कंड्यूसिवली ट्रेन करना चाहते हैं. सो दैट विल एनकरेज मोर एंड मोर पीपल टू ट्रेन देमसेल्व्स एंड मोर पीपल टू गेट जॉब्स. ऐसे ही PM विश्वकर्मा कौशल विश्व सम्मान योजना को शुरू किया गया है. इन 18 ट्रेडिशनल ट्रेड्स, ये मैं आपको पढ़ा भी चुका हूँ. 30 लाख रजिस्टर्ड एंड 23 लाख ट्रेन्ड पीपल. डिजिटल सर्टिफिकेट दिए जा रहे हैं ID के साथ. टूल किट इंसेंटिव ऑफ 15,000 E-वाउचर दिया जा रहा है. साथ में कोलैटरल फ्री लोन्स 2 इंस्टॉलमेंट में दिए जा रहे हैं. 1 लाख इन द फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट, paid back in 12 months, and you get another loan of 2 lakh for 2 years. Then to develop your own business, create your own apprenticeship thing. On an 18 artisanship, this is given. Also, they are connected to the markets with e-commerce platform. ONDC को use किया जा रहा है उसके लिए. So 3,000 artisans have now co-boarded on government e-marketplace. Then ITI reforms are important because industrial training institutes are very important for overall growth, and national centers of excellence need to be created. And industry has to implement what the ITI needs. नहीं तो ITI से अभी लोग ट्रेन हो रहे हैं, lakhs में ट्रेन हो रहे हैं, but because they are not industrially wise skilled, we see that a lot of them are not getting good quality jobs. So how do we strengthen ITI? ओडिशा मॉडल से उन्होंने कहा कि आप लेसन ले सकते हैं, फिक्स कीजिए. फिक्स करना मतलब पहले तो इंस्टीट्यूशन की हालत ठीक करिए. हाउ डू यू इंक्रीज द इंस्टीट्यूशन पोजीशन? बाय मेकिंग श्योर यू चूज 10 सक्सेसफुल alumni, 6 working outside Odisha, 4 women and 2 entrepreneurs, and use them to improve the condition of the ITI. Then scale it up, scale the business, improve the quality, increase the number of people who are training, and then accelerate the procedure so that more and more people can be trained and more people can be given jobs. Other than that, alumni engagement and success storytelling is important. Then expansion is needed in both scale and quality, and focus on trainee well-being at the center. जो ट्रेनिंग लेने आए उन्हें एलियनेटेड ना लगे, उनकी वेल-बीइंग हो, उन्हें कॉन्फिडेंस हो कि हाँ मैं ठीक जगह पे ठीक काम कर रहा हूँ. रूरल आउटरीच बढ़ाइए क्योंकि रूरल एरियाज में एग्रीकल्चर पे डिपेंडेंस अभी भी बहुत ज़्यादा है. सो द ITI विल हेल्प इन क्रिएटिंग जॉब्स फॉर रूरल एरिया पीपल एंड यूजिंग alumni as role models. Also accelerate advanced training ecosystem so that people are not only going for engineering, those who are from poorer background or less trained background can find a way word for themselves. Then they talk about innovative financing for skill development, क्योंकि बहुत बार क्या होता है, people are talented but they are not getting enough finance to skill themselves. तो सर्वे बोलते हैं एक तो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर लाइए, ये ज़रूरी है. और बेनिफिट्स हैं कि ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, सीधा अकाउंट में पैसे जाते हैं, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव बर्डन कम होता है, कैश फ्लोज प्रिडिक्टेबल है, तो बेनिफिशियरी जानता है कि मुझे इतने पैसे तो मिलेंगे ही. दूसरा क्रेडिट बेस्ड फाइनेंसिंग, स्किल लोन्स. अगर आपके पास स्किल है तो आपको बैंक से लोन मिल जाएगा, NBFC से लोन मिल जाएगा, एंड वंस यू गेट द जॉब यू कैन पे इट बैक. यू कैन टेक गुड स्किल्स, एजुकेट योरसेल्फ एंड पे द मनी back. Another is outcome based financing. That is like a skill impact bond. Suppose I'm running a small company but I'm running it well. So if I'm running it well, I can go for a outcome based financing and skill myself to make my company even stronger. Similarly, aligns private investment with public goals. कि अब आउटकम अगर आप अच्छा कर रहे हैं, अगर आप सोशल बेनिफिट के लिए भी कुछ काम कर रहे हैं, then even easier method of taking loans. And then employer co-investment model. Employers को encourage करिए, ये US में बहुत commonly होता है, Sweden में भी होता है, that employers will pay for your training, but with the condition that you will be joining them after a point of time. So that way sabbaticals will be allowed, on the job training will be allowed, leaving job for temporarily and taking training will be allowed. So that way we will have more and more industry-led training, and that will lead to more and more development. Then skill vouchers, I have already taught you that this can create targeted basic benefits where the provider will meet performance criteria and the trainee will choose the best performer. And they have given us examples of international system. In India, Tamil Nadu skill voucher scheme is there, where Adi Dravidar, tribal and Christian Adi Dravidar students are given vouchers of 12,000 to 25,000, and they're trained in emerging fields via approved institutions, and that way they don't have to pay anything, but they get financed for their education and skilling. Maharashtra Vikalp skill voucher program is there, where there's outcome based payment. If you certify the person, complete the placement and complete the training and then place the child, only then the trainer will get the money. So the training institutes are then focused on good quality training, good treatment of the trainee, and placing the trainee after the training is completed, because then only money will be given. And then we see 60% job retention rate has been seen among trainers over here. So the policy recommendation is expand the voucher scheme, conduct regular impact assessments, quality-based empowerment should happen, and performance-linked monitoring should be done. So skill vouchers has been promoted by the survey as one of the better way of getting better training for our individuals and financing for them. Then from challenges to accountability कि स्किलिंग स्कोर कार्ड कैसे होगा. तो देखिए दिक्कत क्या है, फाउंडेशनल स्किल्स वीक हैं. ओनली 56% वर्कर्स आर एम्प्लॉयबल इन इंडिया एट द मोमेंट. Regional and demographic disparities in northern and southern states do better, eastern states do pretty bad, and some of the hilly regions are doing pretty bad. Technical education is weak in India. Industry and skill mismatch is being seen. So all that leads to labor market has frictions. People have high wage expectation, but productivity is low. Firm cannot give them high wage because firm is small, and that leads to unemployment in many places. So if we move beyond enrollment and certification, focus on employment earnings retention outcome, track post-training trajectories, exist third-party evaluation. This will result in better training centers, better use of money given by the government, and better employment generation for India in future, especially for low income and low skilled people who are looking for a 25,000 rupees job, to 20,000, 30,000 rupees job, 15,000 rupees job, but on a regular basis with stability. Then we also see that digital infrastructure can be used for monitoring. As we discussed, SIDH, NCS, eShram, all this can be used as a single place, and we can have a digital public infrastructure. Workers can be given IDs, their placement and earnings can be tracked. Also, PM Vishwakarma, EPF, OESIC can be integrated, and that ways we will have less duplication, better targeting, and labor market being aligned with what has to be developed. Then the survey says that strong employment growth is driven by structural reforms, GST 2.0, tax rationalization. Labor reforms are playing another role, or are going to play another role for good quality employment. Labor code implementation will drive formalization and social security. Skilling system transformation will shift towards modular flexible pathways. We need to reduce skill mismatch and target women and youth so that we have less unemployment among the vulnerable groups. Whole of government approach required, which will need integration of digital platforms, lack of duplication, better usage of government money which is spent on these factors. And then we need to make sure that future growth will depend on industrial driven skilling or modern skills पे ध्यान दीजिए. Green energy, स्किलिंग फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ, जैसे हमारे यहाँ पीएम सूर्य मित्र को ट्रेन किया जाता है, या बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट्स को ट्रेन किया जाता है. ट्रेन पीपल इन आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, ट्रेन पीपल इन digital platforms, also train people in advanced agriculture, usage of drone for spraying things, usage of trained workers for weather predictions. तो एडवांस्ड एग्रीकल्चर में सप्लाई चेन के लिए वर्कर्स को ट्रेन करें. अगर इन चीज़ों पे ध्यान दिया गया, एम्प्लॉयमेंट लेवल्स विल बी फार बेटर and government is thankfully working on it. This chapter is very important from mains point of view and economic services point of view. Many answers you will get from here. Prelims chances are less barring the data points, तो data points को अच्छे से ध्यान में रखोगे, वहाँ से prelims के question बनेंगे. Mains और economic services में GS और optional both mains में आपको बहुत मदद मिलेगी. आप यहाँ से points लीजिए और employment से related किसी भी answer में लिखिए. You will be doing much better. Thank you, and I'm going to train you how to write answers for mains. Next IAS students, you wait. I will teach you how to use economic survey for mains answer writing. अभी तुम prelims में busy हो, वो कर लो. I will teach you. Thanks a lot, all of you. Bye bye. I'll see you soon with the next chapter.